The next morning, the station lights turned from orange to white, and a new day began. Engines roared. Traders shouted. Machines rolled across the steel floors. The spaceport smelled like smoke and old food. It was just another normal day on the edge of the galaxy. But for Ben, something felt different. He stepped out of his ship with a warm bowl of food in one hand. He looked toward the same spot near the wall. The blanket was still there, but the little girl was gone. His heart jumped. He turned his head quickly and spotted her standing near a broken crate, holding her pendant and looking at a broken sign above the food stall. She was alone but not afraid. Her feet were bare and her steps light. Ben walked over and handed her the bowl. She took it without speaking but gave a tiny nod. She sat down and began to eat slowly. Her hands still shook when she lifted the spoon. Ben sat across from her on a pile of crates. He let her eat for a while. Then he asked again, "You said your name is Nia, right?" She looked up at him and nodded. "Do you remember anything else? Where you came from? Your family?" Nia stayed silent for a long time. Then she put down the spoon and held the silver crescent pendant in both hands. "There was music," she said slowly. Her voice was soft and unsure. "Big hall, shiny floor, people with silver clothes. They bowed when I passed." Ben leaned forward. "You remember that?" She nodded again. "A lady sang to me. Her eyes were gold. She smelled like flowers." "Was she your mother?" Nia looked down. "I think so." Ben didn't say anything. He just listened. She touched the pendant again. "She gave me this. She said never lose it. Said it's part of who I am." Ben studied the pendant. It looked old but important. It wasn't made of cheap metal. It had strange symbols carved into the back. He pulled out his data pad and opened a search tab. He typed in a few words. Crescent pendant. Virene culture. Lost royal child. Nothing useful came up right away. He glanced back at Nia. She had gone quiet again, eating her food in small bites. Her eyes looked far away. Later, Ben walked with her around the station. He didn't hold her hand, but he stayed close. She followed him like a quiet shadow. People stared but said nothing. Some of them whispered when they saw her. He stopped by a stall run by a small alien merchant named Poro. Poro had been at this station for many years. He sold ship parts and sometimes gossip. Ben leaned on the counter. "You ever seen a girl like her before?" Poro glanced at Nia. His eyes narrowed. "Where did you find her?" "She was behind the trash pile." "Eating scraps," Poro hissed softly. "You better be careful." "Why?" "She's Virene. I'm sure of it. The skin, the pendant, the eyes. That's royal blood." Ben blinked. "I thought the Virene people were gone." "Not gone," Poro said. "Destroyed. Their planet fell years ago. Some say the Zurek Union wiped out their cities, said they were dangerous." Ben looked at Nia. She stood behind him, looking at a small spinning toy on the counter. "What happened to the children?" "Some escaped. Most vanished. A few were captured, sold, or worse." "Why would someone want them gone?" "Because the Virene were powerful. If even one heir survives, others might rise again." Ben felt a chill in his chest. He turned to Nia. "She's just a child." "To you, maybe," Poro said. "But to others, she's a threat. Or a target." Ben bought a few supplies and walked back to the ship with Nia. She didn't ask questions. She never did. She walked with soft steps and always stayed close to him, like he was the only safe thing in the world. Back on the ship, Ben opened a small drawer and pulled out a blanket and a clean shirt. He gave them to her and showed her the small washroom. "You can clean up if you want. No one will bother you here." She nodded and disappeared inside. Ben sat down and opened his data pad. Again. This time he searched deeper. He found old news reports, half-erased records, and blurry images. One photo caught his eye. A tall woman with golden eyes stood in a marble hall, holding hands with a small girl. The girl wore a silver crescent around her neck. Ben stared at the screen. It was the same pendant, the same shape, the same shine. He looked up as Nia stepped out of the washroom. Her face was clean now. Her violet skin looked brighter. Her silver hair, once full of dirt, was now smooth and soft. She wore the clean shirt and clutched the pendant tightly. Ben stood slowly. "Nia, I think I found something. Can you come? Here?" She walked over. He turned the screen so she could see it. Her eyes widened. She touched the image. "That's her," she said. "My mother." Ben felt a lump in his throat. "You're not just any child, Nia," he said. She looked at him. Her eyes didn't look scared anymore. They looked strong. "You're the lost daughter of the Virine throne." Nia didn't speak. She just stood there, holding the pendant close to her heart. Ben turned off the screen. He didn't know what this meant yet. But one thing was clear. He couldn't leave her here. Not now. He had seen something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Not a stray, not a beggar, but a princess. And now he had to protect her. Ben worked late into the night, moving tools around and checking the ship's systems. His old cargo ship, the Sparrow, was small but strong. It had been through many battles, silent runs, and dangerous routes. But now, it had something more, valuable than any cargo: Nia. She slept in a small bunk near the back of the ship, wrapped in a warm blanket. The pendant still hung from her neck. Even in sleep, her hand rested on it. Ben sat near the control panel thinking. His datapad was still open. The image of the Virine royal family glowed on the screen. Nia stood beside her mother in that photo. Her eyes were the same. Her face was younger, but the look had not changed. She really was the lost child of a royal house, and now she was under his care. Ben had never planned for this. He was a cargo pilot, a smuggler sometimes, a repairman when needed. But now he was something else, a guardian, a protector. When morning came, Nia woke early. She walked quietly into the control room, rubbing her eyes. Ben looked at her and smiled. "Did you sleep well?" She nodded. "I made something for you." He handed her a small bowl of warm grain porridge. She took it and sat beside him on a crate. As she ate, he turned the screen toward her again. "I think you need to see this." He pressed a button and a short video started playing. It showed the last Virine royal ceremony, years before the fall of their empire. Nia appeared in it, just a toddler, standing beside tall guards dressed in silver. People bowed to her. Nia stared at the screen. Her hands stopped moving. Her mouth opened slightly, and she breathed slowly. "That's you," Ben said. She reached out and touched the screen. Her fingers rested on the face of the woman in the video. "I remember her voice," she said. Ben closed the video and turned to her. "Your people believed in honor, beauty, and peace. But someone wanted them gone." Nia didn't reply. She just held the pendant tighter. Ben stood. "We can't stay on this station much longer. Someone might recognize you. We need to go somewhere." "Safe." She looked up. "Where?" "I know a small colony where no one asks questions. We'll stay there until I figure out what to do." She nodded. As Ben prepared the ship for takeoff, he sent one last message to an old friend named Kieran. Kieran lived on a hidden human colony in the asteroid belt. He was a former engineer who now helped lost travelers find new homes. Kieran replied quickly. "Come fast. Don't talk to anyone, and don't use public lanes." Ben shut off the channel and turned toward Nia. "We leave in 10 minutes. She followed him into the cockpit and sat beside him in the co-pilot seat. Her feet barely reached the floor, but her eyes stayed fixed on the stars beyond the window. The Sparrow lifted off from the station and slid into space. Ben kept the ship low, under scanner range, and moved between small moons to stay hidden. It was a quiet ride for the first few hours. Then, a warning light blinked on the control panel. Ben cursed under his breath and checked the screen. A small scout drone was following them. It was unmarked, but its design looked familiar. Zurek Union. He tightened his grip on the controls. Hang on. The ship dipped fast, turning sharply through a gas cloud. Nia held her seat with both hands but stayed calm. Ben powered up the back thrusters and sent out a signal jam. The drone tried to follow but lost sight of them in the thick mist. After 10 long minutes, they were alone again. Nia looked at him. They're hunting me. Ben nodded. Yes, someone doesn't want you alive, but we'll stay ahead of them. Why? Because you're not just anyone. You are the last light of something important. She stared out the window again. My mother said I had to be brave. You are, Ben said. They reached the hidden colony 6 hours later. It floated inside a large asteroid hidden by metal, plates and shield dampeners. From the outside, it looked like a dead rock. Inside, it was alive with lights, greenhouses, water tanks, and families from many worlds. Kieran greeted them at the dock. He was tall, bald, and wore a thick vest. His eyes widened when he saw Nia. You weren't joking, he said. She really is Virene. Ben nodded. She needs protection. Maybe more than that. Kieran looked at Nia kindly. You're safe here, little one. No one will hurt you. She stayed close to Ben, her small hand gripping his sleeve. Kieran led them to a private room with clean beds and warm lights. There was even a window that looked out into the stars. Later, Ben and Kieran sat in the control room, drinking warm tea. You have any idea what this means? Kieran asked. Ben nodded. Yes. If others find out she's alive, everything could change. Change for the better or worse? I don't know yet, but I do know one thing. She's not just a survivor. She's a symbol, a reason to hope again. Kieran leaned back. Then we have work to do. In the next days, Nia began to smile. More. She explored the halls, met other children, and even helped in the greenhouse. She laughed when she saw flowers blooming and asked questions about stars and planets. Ben watched her grow stronger each day. She learned fast. She listened carefully. And when no one was looking, she still touched the pendant, holding it close. One night. She stood on the balcony and looked at the stars. Ben stood beside her. Do you think my people remember me? She asked. Some might, Ben said. What if they don't? Then we help them remember. She turned to him. Will you stay with me? As long as you want me to. She nodded. And in that moment, under the soft light of a distant star, Ben no longer saw the girl from the trash pile. He saw a leader. He saw a princess. And he knew the galaxy was about to change. Inside the hidden colony, Nia began to change. She walked with steady steps now. Her clothes were no longer torn. Her hair was brushed, tied neatly behind her head. She helped in the garden, cleaned dishes in the kitchen, and asked many questions about stars and ships. The people in the colony treated her kindly. They didn't know who she was. They only saw a quiet, curious child. But outside the colony, things were not quiet. News had started to spread. A short message appeared on dark networks and secret traitor groups. It said a human pilot was traveling with a Virene child. The message offered a reward, not for helping the child, for capturing her. The words were simple, dead or alive. Bring the pendant, double the price if the girl talks. Ben read the message on Kieran's private screen. He didn't speak at first. He just stared at the words. Kieran stood beside him, arms crossed. They're not just looking for her, Ben said. They want to make sure she disappears. Kieran nodded. This came from the Zurek Union. No name, but the message style is clear. Ben looked out the small window. Nia was sitting on a bench with a flower in her hand. She smiled as a small insect landed on her palm. "She's just a child," Ben said. "To them, she's a danger," Kieran replied. "If people believe the Vereen heir is alive, old loyalties might rise again." Ben turned back to the screen. "Then we need to protect her." Kieran handed him a folded paper. "We have a way out, a hidden route to the outer sectors. But it's risky. And if they catch us—" "They won't," Ben said. "I won't let them." That night, Ben sat beside Nia in her small room. She looked at him with calm eyes. "Something is wrong." He nodded. "People are looking for you." "Bad people?" "Yes." "Because of who I am?" "Yes." Nia looked down at her hands. "Can we run again?" "We can," Ben said, "but it's time we stop running forever. You need to know the truth." He took out the datapad and showed her the message. She read it slowly. Her hands tightened around the pendant. "They want me gone," she said. "Yes." She looked up. "Then we don't hide. We fight." Ben didn't expect those words, not from someone so young. But her face was serious, her voice steady. "You're not afraid?" he asked. "I was," she said. "But not now. My people are out there." "Some might still believe. If I stay quiet, they'll never know." Ben nodded. "Then we'll send a message. Your voice, your story." They spent the next day in the colony's small recording room. Kieran helped set up the cameras. Nia sat in front of a silver wall. She wore a simple robe. Nothing fancy, but the pendant rested clearly on her chest. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Nia. I am the daughter of House Vereen. I survived the fall. I remember the stars above our palace. I remember the songs. I remember the people who raised me with love. They tried to erase us, but I'm still here." She paused. "I am not asking for war. I am asking for truth. I am asking for those who still believe to stand with me, not to fight with weapons, but with memory. We are not gone. I am not gone." The message ended. Ben watched it play back. His chest felt heavy. "You sound like a real leader," he said. "I am a princess," she replied. Kieran helped them send the message through hidden channels. It traveled across the galaxy, from mining ships to old stations, from forgotten outposts to silent Vereen ruins. It reached places where hope had almost died. Some people ignored it, but others didn't. On a quiet moon, a group of old Vereen elders gathered around a screen. One of them held a worn photo of the same girl, years younger. Tears filled her eyes. In a trade station bar, a human pilot watched the message and stood up without a word. He left his drink and walked to his ship. In the deep void, a small group of Vereen rebels heard the call and began to move. But not all who heard the message were friends. Inside a dark chamber on a Zurek battleship, a tall figure watched the video. He wore black armor, and his face was hidden by a metal mask. Behind him stood 2 guards. "So she lives," the figure said. One guard stepped forward. "Do we begin the hunt?" "Yes," the figure replied. "But do it quietly. She must disappear, and the human pilot with her." The message had started something. A wave, a ripple across the stars. Back in the colony, Nia trained with Ben every morning. He showed her how to hold a scanner, how to fly the ship, and how to speak with strength. She learned fast. She was small, but her mind was sharp. Ben felt proud, but also worried. He knew the time of hiding was over. One evening, the colony alarms rang. Ben rushed to the tower. Kieran met him halfway. "A ship just dropped out of stealth," Kieran said. "No ID. Heavy weapons." Ben didn't wait. He ran to Nia's room and found her already dressed. "We need to go," he said. She nodded. They ran through the halls, reached the docking bay, and boarded the Sparrow. Kieran opened the outer gate just in time, As they lifted off, a blast hit the far side of the colony. Smoke rose in the distance. Ben turned the ship sharply and powered the shields. "They found us," he said. Nia looked out the window. Her voice was calm. "Then they'll hear us too." Ben glanced at her. In that moment, he saw someone new. Not just a girl, not just a survivor. He saw a leader ready to rise. The Sparrow slipped through the darkness of space like a shadow. Ben held the controls steady, eyes sharp and alert. The stars outside twinkled cold and distant. Behind them, the colony was left burning, a silent warning to anyone who dared help. Nia. Nia sat beside Ben in the co-pilot seat. Her face was calm but serious. She had grown stronger with every day. Her small hands gripped the armrests as she watched the stars pass by. The silver crescent pendant hung around her neck, catching the faint light from the control panel. "We need a safe place," Ben said. "A place where you can grow, learn, plan." Nia nodded. "What about the colony we left? Can we go back?" "No," Ben replied. "They will come again if we stay there." She looked out the window. "Then where?" Ben tapped his datapad and opened a map of nearby systems. "There's a human settlement on a moon called Orion. It's far, but it's safe. It's full of refugees, traders, and people like us." "Will they believe me?" Nia asked quietly. Ben smiled. "We will make sure they do." For days, Ben and Nia prepared the ship. Ben showed her how to use scanners, how to plot safe routes, and how to communicate with others without raising alarms. Nia listened closely. She was a fast learner. At night, Ben told her stories about humans, about their fights, their kindness, and their stubborn hope. Nia smiled sometimes, but mostly she thought deeply. One evening, Nia asked, "Ben, why do you help me? Why risk so much?" Ben looked at her. "Because I see you, not as a lost girl, but as a future." She nodded and looked away, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. The journey to Orion was long and difficult. They flew through asteroid fields, dodged patrols, and stayed hidden in dark corners of space. Once, a small scout ship almost caught them, but Ben's quick maneuvers saved them. When they finally reached Orion, the moon was covered in bright green forests and tall mountains. The human settlement was a cluster of domes and towers, buzzing with life and hope. Ben contacted the settlement's leader, a woman named Mara. Mara was known for helping refugees and fighters alike. Ben explained their story carefully. Nia sat quietly beside him. Mara listened without interrupting. When Ben finished, she smiled softly. "We welcome you," Mara said. "This place is a home for all who seek peace." Nia's eyes brightened. For the first time since the trash pile, she felt safe. In the following weeks, Nia learned quickly. She trained with the colony's defenders, learning to hold a weapon and understand strategy. She was small but brave. Her courage inspired others. Ben worked with Mara to send messages through secret channels. They shared Nia's story. The message was simple. The lost princess was alive and ready to lead. People from many worlds began to respond. Some were Varine survivors hiding in shadows. Others were humans and aliens who believed in justice and peace. Ben watched as Nia grew into a symbol of hope. Children looked up to her. Adults listened to her words. The small princess who once ate scraps now spoke with strength. One night, Ben and Nia stood on a balcony overlooking the settlement. The sky was full of stars. Nia asked, "Ben, will the Zurek come here too?" Ben sighed. "Maybe, but we will be ready." She looked at him. "I want to fight for my people, for all who suffer." Ben smiled. "And I will fight by your side." Their bond grew stronger. Ben was no longer just a pilot. He was a protector, a friend, and a guardian of a princess. Together, they prepared for the battles to come. The galaxy was watching, and a small alien girl who once ate scraps like a dog was becoming a queen. The sky above the ash moon was dark and filled with stars. The small human and alien fleet gathered quietly in the space near the moon's orbit. Ships of many shapes and sizes hovered, their engines glowing softly. The battle was about to begin. Nia stood on the bridge of a Virine cruiser. Her silver eyes were steady. The crescent pendant hung proudly on her chest. She wore a simple flight suit, but her posture was strong and confident. Around her, Virine officers prepared for orders. Ben stood beside her, gripping the controls. Of his cargo ship, the Sparrow. The ship was modified with stolen weapons and extra shields. It looked small next to the cruisers, but Ben knew it was fast and clever. "Ready?" Nia asked quietly. Ben nodded. "Always." The Zurek Union fleet appeared suddenly, black ships with sharp edges and bright weapons. They moved quickly, ready to destroy the small group before it could grow. The radio crackled with urgent commands. Nia took a deep breath and spoke into the comms. "This is Nia of House Virine. We fight not for revenge, but for peace. Lay down your weapons and listen." There was silence, then a loud response. "Surrender now, or be destroyed," the Zurek commander said. Nia's voice was calm but strong. "We will not surrender. We fight for those who cannot." The battle began. Lasers and missiles flashed through space. Ships twisted and turned, firing and dodging. The ash moon glowed red from distant explosions. Ben flew the Sparrow with skill. He dodged enemy fire and aimed his cannons carefully. His small ship was a target, but he moved fast. His eyes never left Nia's ship. Nia gave orders calmly, her voice steady even when alarms sounded. The Virine cruisers fought bravely. Humans and aliens in smaller ships joined the fight, protecting the larger vessels. At one point, a Zurek fighter locked onto the Sparrow. Ben pulled hard on the controls, dodging just in time. He fired back and destroyed the enemy ship. Nia heard the comm. "Well done, Ben." He smiled and kept flying. The battle raged for hours. The sky was full of fire and smoke. The ash moon below showed the scars of war. But then something unexpected happened. The Zurek fleet began to slow. Some ships turned off their weapons. Others drifted away. Nia's voice came through the radio again. "This war is not what it should be. We seek peace, not endless fighting. Join us. Together we can build a better future." The message touched many hearts. Some Zurek pilots switched off their weapons. A few ships surrendered. Ben watched in disbelief. A battle that could have lasted forever was ending. Nia stood taller on the bridge. She was more than a lost child now. She was a leader who could bring hope to many. When the fighting stopped, Nia spoke again. "Let this day be remembered, not as the day we fought, but the day we chose peace. The Virine people will rise again, and the galaxy will hear our voice." The fleet cheered. Humans, Virine, aliens, all together. Ben looked at Nia and nodded. "You did it." She smiled, softly. "We did it. Together." The battle above the ash moon was over. A new chapter had begun. The dome hall was quiet but full of hope. The stars shone outside, lighting the room with a soft glow. People from many worlds gathered. Humans, Virine, and other aliens stood side by side. They came to witness something new, something important. Nia stood at the center. Her silver eyes scanned the crowd. The silver crescent pendant hung on her chest. She wore simple robes, but her presence was powerful. She was no longer the lost girl who ate scraps behind a trade station. She was a leader, a princess, a symbol of a new beginning. Ben stood near the back, watching quietly. He remembered the day he found Nia behind the trash pile. He remembered how no one else saw her for what she was. But he did. He never stopped believing. The ceremony began with soft music from a small band of Virene musicians. Their instruments made gentle sounds that filled the hall with peace. Nia's voice was steady as she spoke. Today is a new day. A day when hope returns. A day when the Virene people stand tall again. I am honored to take this place, not just for me, but for all who believe in justice, peace, and courage. The crowd cheered softly. Some wiped tears from their eyes. This moment was more than a ceremony. It was a promise. After the speech, Nia walked to Ben. She smiled and took his hand. "Thank you," she said softly. "When I was nothing, you saw a princess." Ben smiled back. "I only saw the truth." The days that followed were busy. The Virene began rebuilding their homes and cities. New leaders stepped forward. Old friends returned. The galaxy started to listen, but peace was not easy. The Zurek Union was weakened, but still dangerous. Some groups refused to stop fighting. Nia knew the road ahead would be difficult. She spent time meeting with humans and aliens who wanted peace. She learned to listen and to lead. Ben stayed by her side, helping with strategy and keeping her safe. One evening, Nia stood outside the dome looking at the stars. Ben joined her. "Do you ever feel scared?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "Yes, but I feel hope too. Hope is stronger than fear." Ben nodded. "You have changed many lives, and you changed mine," she said. The galaxy would never forget the story of the little alien girl who ate scraps like a dog but was seen as a princess by one human. Together, they had fought for a better future. Nia's journey was only beginning, but she was ready. For she was not just a lost child. She was a queen, and the stars were hers to guide. The trade station floated quietly in the black sky, just above a small, forgotten moon. It was old, rusty, and filled with travelers from many worlds. Ships came and went, dropping off cargo and picking up supplies. The air inside always smelled, like metal and smoke. No one smiled here. People walked fast, kept their heads down, and looked only at what they needed. Ben, a human cargo pilot, stood at the edge of his ship's ramp. He had just finished unloading crates. His hands were covered in dust, and his jacket smelled like fuel. He looked tired, but something made him pause before going back inside. He saw movement near the trash bins, not the usual rats or scrap robots. It was a child, small, thin, and quiet. She crawled behind broken containers and reached into a pile of garbage. Her hands shook as she pulled out a half-eaten food pack. She sniffed it, then ate carefully, like someone who didn't want to be noticed. Ben squinted. Her skin was light violet. Her arms were thin like sticks. Her clothes were torn and too big for her. She looked like she hadn't bathed in weeks. But it wasn't just how she looked. It was the way others treated her. An alien trader walked past and kicked an empty can toward her. She flinched. Another passed by and said something rude in a deep voice. No one helped her. No one even looked twice. Ben stepped off the ramp and walked slowly toward her. She froze when she saw him. Her eyes, large and silver, locked on his face. She didn't run. She didn't speak. She only watched. Him, scared but curious. He knelt a few steps away and placed a protein bar and a bottle of clean water on the ground. He didn't say anything. He just waited. After a moment, the girl crawled forward. She sniffed the bar, unwrapped it with shaking fingers, and ate slowly. She drank the water in tiny sips. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and looked up again. "What's your name?" Ben asked gently. The girl blinked. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. After a long pause, she whispered something. He leaned in closer. "Nia," she said in a soft voice. Ben nodded. "Nice to meet you, Nia. I'm Ben. She didn't reply. She just hugged her knees and looked down. Ben sat beside her, not too close. He looked around. No one cared what he was doing. The station guards were busy arguing near the fuel dock. Other travelers passed by without a second glance. "How long have you been here?" he asked. She shrugged. "Do you have family?" Nia shook her head slowly. Ben felt a weight in his chest. He had seen orphans before. He had seen people lost in war, pushed out of their homes, left behind in places like this. But this was different. She was just a child. She wasn't begging or stealing. She was surviving like a stray animal. And yet, when she looked at him, her eyes didn't show anger or fear. They showed something else, something strong. He looked at the pendant around her neck. It was shaped like a small silver crescent, old and scratched, but still shiny. She held it with one hand when she sat still, like it mattered more than anything else. "Nice pendant," Ben said. She nodded. "Where did you get it?" She didn't answer, but her fingers gripped it tighter. Ben stood slowly. "Wait here." He walked back to his ship and returned with a blanket. He placed it next to her. "Cold out here," he said. She pulled the blanket around herself without a word. Her small body almost disappeared inside it. Ben didn't know what to do next. He was just a pilot. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. But something about this girl made him stay. Maybe it was her silence. Maybe it was her eyes. Maybe it was the way she sat in dirt yet still looked proud. He looked at her again. Not as a stranger. Not as a lost child. She looked like something else. He couldn't explain it. Not yet. That night, Ben stayed in his ship, but he kept the door open. He watched from inside as Nia curled under the blanket and fell asleep near the engine wall. A soft hum from the station filled the air. Lights flickered above, casting shadows around her. She didn't cry. She didn't move much. She just slept, holding the silver crescent close to her chest. Ben leaned back in his seat. He didn't plan to get involved. He had deliveries to make. He had fuel to buy and debts to pay. But he knew something had changed. He wasn't just a cargo pilot anymore. He had found someone others had ignored, someone he couldn't ignore. The girl behind the trash pile was not a dog. She was something rare. He didn't know her past, but he had seen her eyes, and in her eyes, he saw something royal. He saw a princess, and he was the only one who did.